President An, we are ready to begin.
Great, thank you. I want to welcome everyone to the Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, August 19th. The time now is 2:05 p.m. I am President Robert An. I'll be chairing this meeting. The following commissioners have also joined the meeting virtually via Zoom. We have Vice President Mason and Commissioner Villa. We also have DCR's Executive Director, Kat Packer, along with members of the department and the City Attorney's Office. I'm going to go over some general instructions before we start today's meeting. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted virtually via Zoom and is being live streamed on DCR's website. Individuals who wish to watch this meeting may do so by visiting cannabis.lacity.org and clicking the About menu at the top. Under the About menu, click the Commission Meetings link, scroll down to the bottom of the Commission Meetings page to find the live stream. Folks can also listen to this meeting by calling council phone at 213-621-2489 or 818-904-9450 and selecting the number for this meeting. Members of the public who want to offer public comment may do so by calling one of the two toll-free numbers as follows: 877-853-5257. Again, that's 877-853-5257. or 888-475-4499 and enter the meeting ID 860-838-7310. These numbers can also be found on the agenda for this meeting. Agendas for today's meetings can also be found on the department's website at cannabis.lacity.org and navigating to the commission page under the About menu. This meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask all commissioners, department staff, and members of the public to please state your name clearly when you speak. The audio file will be posted online within 48 hours of the meeting. If you are in the Zoom call when the item you wish to speak on is called, press *9 to get on the speaking queue. The Commission Executive Assistant will call out each speaker by the last 4 digits of their phone to identify the caller. The caller will be prompted to unmute themselves by dialing *6. I'll repeat that. To unmute yourself, you can press *6. If there are no other items you wish to speak on, you may disconnect from this call and view the meeting via the live stream or dial the council phone to listen only. We will be following the agenda order today. Today's presentation to the Commission will be available on the department's website within 2 business days from this meeting. We will consider general public comment and single or multiple agenda items together. Therefore, speakers will have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute per item, with a maximum of 2 minutes for multiple items. We ask that speakers state whether they are providing general comment and/or which other items they are speaking on before they begin to comment so that staff can appropriately time them. If the speaker does not specify which items they are speaking on, only 1 minute will be provided. Today, we're going to have a maximum time of 1 hour for the combined general comment and single or multiple agenda items. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the general public comment and single or multiple agenda items. Speakers can address this commission on non-agenda related items that are within the jurisdiction of the commission, or provide public comment for items in today's agenda by dialing *9 on your phone. If you're listening on the live stream and have called to provide public comment, please make sure to mute yourselves on the live stream audio before you begin to eliminate feedback. Commissioners and staff, please mute your microphones. Ms. Treviso, please call the first speaker.
Caller with phone number ending in 1072. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi there. My name is Nick Jackson, and I'd like to make a general comment.
Sure, you have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been a resident of the Melrose area for over 15 years. As a longtime resident, I've seen how Melrose has changed from becoming a vibrant neighborhood to its decline caused by shoe stores such as Kicks and Shoe Palace, who have created an unsafe atmosphere that last week ended with a Shoe Palace employee tragically shot and killed in broad daylight. The businesses who are bringing Melrose down are the illegal cannabis shops and the sneaker businesses who care about the sale of shoes rather than the safety of the public. More importantly, I know who the responsible business owners are on Melrose, those who have put boots on the ground to make the streets safer and cleaner. Two of the best examples are the Brooklyn Project Skate Shop in the 7,000 block and Cookies Melrose in the 8,000 block. Cookies has a cleaning crew that patrols a 4-block radius, 24/7 security patrol car, security guards and security cameras that can pick up a license plate number 1 mile away. Can you imagine what Melrose would be like if businesses did even half of what Cookies does every day of the week? Please don't be fooled by the negative complaints of a few about Cookies. In the press, they say the issue is about the skin color of Cookies patrons and that they are afraid of
Thank
what
you. Your
might
time is
happen.
up.
Because, okay.
Caller with phone number ending in 3608. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes, hi, my name is Eli Cherkoff. I'd like to offer a general comment.
Sure. 1 minute, please.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for taking my call. I live next door to the Green Earth Collective in the Highland Park, Eagle Rock area. I was at a neighborhood council meeting earlier this month about the GEC, where a DCR representative spoke and told us essentially that you're focused on issuing new licenses and not on investigating complaints against current license holders, and that you simply hoped that dispensary owners would operate in good faith, but that's not working. You've heard about the violent crime happening at the GEC. It's getting rather than better. And this is happening just a few feet from my kids and my wife. We've submitted to the complaints portal. There's been no response, no investigation. You're the Department of Cannabis Regulation. You need to start regulating immediately. Stop handing out new licenses and start dealing with violations at the existing ones. And stop renewing temporary licenses year after year. You need to require permanent licenses if that's how this will be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with phone number ending in 8975. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes, my name is Mary Verplank, and I also live near the Green Earth Collective. And I would like to reiterate that I too was at the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council, and that we need the council and the Department of Cannabis Regulation to do regulation and start putting resources into that part of their commission. I would also like to say that in one of the categories of types of business, that there was a 200 feet barrier between residences. I think it's for manufacturing. I would encourage you to put the 200-foot radius on residential neighborhood on all types of cannabis business. Considering the violence that we have had, and considering also that you're just hoping for the operators to, behave correctly and operate their businesses correctly, I would encourage you to do a 200 radius on residential for residential areas for all types of cannabis uses. That would help things tremendously.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caller with phone number ending in 5062. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. There seems to be a problem with that call. If anyone wishes to make public comment, please dial *9. Caller with phone number ending in 2689, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Good afternoon. My name is Karina Christmas. This is the general comment as well as addressing agenda number 4. I'm hoping
Sure,
that
you have
the
2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm hoping that the DCR comes up with a best practice for social equity applicants like myself who were late in paying their invoice that was close to $6,000. The DCR recognized that there are individuals who needed help, but we are economically not rich. So when we're late in paying an invoice, it is not best to start the process all over again, especially when the process is now taking me twice as long and I haven't changed anything in my application. I've tried contacting the DCR for someone to help me resolve this issue. I have still not heard back from anyone. So I'm hoping that in the future that when we are slammed with a $6,000 invoice, that perhaps instead of considering the application as abandoned, that perhaps a late fee an option. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please dial *9. Caller with phone number 5062, you are unmuted. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. My name is Jeremiah White, and I'm calling regarding the social equity vetting changes and the round 2 application process.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
Okay, I'm a verified social equity applicant under the original vetting process, classified as a Tier 1 and 2 for Phase 3, Round 2. During the process 4 years ago, I had all of my paperwork turned in on time. The analyst requested that I provide a letter from the IRS, which should be postmarked before the cutoff date to be considered for the first round. I delivered the letter to your office 2 days later, the cutoff date, and although it was postmarked prior to the cutoff, I was informed by another analyst that I would have to wait for the second round, but not to worry, I would be put on the top of the list of the second round. I thought, okay, although dissatisfied, at least I'm at the top of the list. Since then, I've participated in DCR's workshops, webinars, Zoom calls, Spark sessions, answered your surveys and questionnaires. I've listened to all the help that the first round needed and went through, their struggles of inequality. I thought maybe it wasn't such a bad idea that I was put on the second round. Well, unfortunately for me, and I'm sure others, the vetting process has changed drastically from first round to a lottery process for the second round. I was devastated, but became optimistic. Then came another blow, a mandatory arrest or conviction of a cannabis offense to be eligible for a program that I already qualified for. I'm asking the commission to please put yourself in my shoes, and tell me what would you do in this case. I've worked 4 years on creating a business plan. I've participated in every, a webinar or meeting that you guys needed, and now I'm out according to the new rule. So I'm asking to please Let me know, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is
If anyone wishes to make public comment, please dial *9.
Josie, do we have one more?
No, we don't. I don't see anyone with a raised hand
Okay.
that has not already spoken.
Okay, thank you. With that, I want to thank everyone for your comments. I'm going to go ahead and close both the general public comment agenda item and also the single or multiple agenda item periods as well. We're going to go ahead and move forward to the agenda items. We'll start with agenda item number 1. Commissioners, you should have received an advanced calendar in front of you for future meeting dates. Please take a look and advise if there are any scheduled absences.
Commissioner On, this is Commissioner Villa. I have no scheduled absences.
Thank you. Vice President Mason?
This is Vice President Mason. I have no scheduled absences.
Okay, thank you. Noted. And moving on to the next point, we're going to go ahead and approve the minutes. We were sent the minutes of July 15th for review. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Commissioner On, this is Commissioner Villa. I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Vice President Mason. I second.
Thank you. Mr. Vizo, please call the roll.
Commissioner Villa, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Vice President On, how do you vote?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Vice President Mason.
I vote aye.
And President On, how do you vote?
Aye.
The vote is 3-0 and the motion passes.
Okay, moving on to commission announcements and updates. Commissioners, do we have any announcements or updates to make?
Vice President Mason has no announcements or updates.
Commissioner Villa, no announcements, no updates. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we're going to discuss any potential future agenda requests. If you have any, please state so now.
I do want to state that the department will agendize Commissioner Villa's request for a report back on cannabis business needs at the next commission meeting.
Okay, so that will be at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is the Executive Director's Report. Ms. Packer, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Commission President On, and I appreciate all of the commissioners joining today's commission meeting. I want to thank members of the public for joining us for our public comment. We have a very robust agenda for today's presentation. We'll include in detail information in the Executive Director's Report, but also detail specific programming related to the SPARK program, business licensing and compliance assistance programming, and our SEED grant program. Those items will be briefly mentioned in our Executive Director's Report and then be further detailed within their own agenda items later on in the presentation. Generally, today, Commissioners, I want to share with you and members of the public that the Department of Cannabis Regulation is working very diligently to build and maintain a number of different systems that are critical to our operations and to a successful licensing and social equity program. We'll be able to detail for you during today's Executive Director's Report recent changes that were adopted by City Council related to our Cannabis Procedures Ordinance and the Cannabis Location Restriction Ordinance, comprehensive changes to both ordinances, And the intention behind these changes is truly to streamline our application processes and to reduce timelines associated with the application process. We recognize that members of the public, our commissioners and stakeholders have increasingly asked us to improve transparency around our application process and timelines. And so we have first recommended changes to the Cannabis Procedures Ordinance and Cannabis Location Restriction Ordinance, but subsequently City Council adopted those recommendations and amendments. And part of what we have been busy doing over the course of the last several months and the last several weeks, and will continue to do for the next several weeks, are to amend our various systems, procedures, and public information so that we can implement the changes that Council just recently adopted to streamline our process and to reduce our application processing timelines. I know that folks are very eager for those application processes to be available and for there to be consistency with the timelines associated with that process. And I want you all to know that that is priority number one coming out of our department because it is going to impact every single applicant and every single licensee. Similarly, we are working on building additional capacity in the department to handle other responsibilities in the department, namely our communications efforts, our social equity program, and then also to build infrastructure internally for our compliance program. For example, right now we're in the process of hiring 2 special investigators to help us to be able to monitor compliance with our applicants and licensees as they're moving through the various application processes. But all of that to say, the department has been tremendously busy, and you'll hear that from other staff who are sharing information today and other vendors who are joining us who provide additional capacity and support to help us move those various operations and programs forward. We have also, at the local level, the Department of Cannabis Regulation has been heavily engaged in communication with agencies at the state level, specifically the Department of Cannabis Control. The 3 state licensing agencies just recently consolidated into one agency, the Department of Cannabis Control, that is led by Director Nicole Elliott. We have a great relationship with Nicole and with the members of the Department of Cannabis Control's management team. And so we are looking forward to working closely with the state as we manage our respective dual licensing requirements, but are doing so with an effort to continue to try and improve our licensing program, improve our social equity program, and work with the state so that we can help transition our applicants and licensees through the state's licensing process. At an upcoming commission meeting, we will share additional information about how we're working together with the state to move applicants through both our annual licensing process and the state's annual licensing process. As folks may have heard, there are resources that are going to be made available in the form of a grant that the City of Los Angeles can apply for. These grant dollars will help us specifically move applicants through various CEQA requirements that the state has established. But all of that to say that there is an intentional partnership and coordination with the state in this effort. And we'll be working very closely with them to make sure that our applicants, our licensees, our market as a whole is able to transition through what has been an ever-evolving process, both at the local and the state level. We've got very exciting updates and reports to share relative to various communications programs that we've been running here in the Department of Cannabis Regulation, and also very exciting programming that has been led by Dr. Amani Brown and our social equity program staff. I will leave it up to my staff to share further information later. And of course, commissioners, I will be available to answer any questions. But before we got into the meat of the report, I just wanted to give you all a sense of what's currently driving our operations at the Department of Cannabis Regulation, particularly as we move urgently into this new fiscal year. We want to make this particular fiscal year as impactful as possible and move as many applicants and licensees through our process. But as was mentioned, also making sure that we have the infrastructure and programming and resources available to our applicants and licensees so that they can remain compliant with our local laws and policies. And part of that is working directly with City Council leadership in the mayor's office to make sure that we have a budget and other resources, staffing resources that allow us to accomplish those goals. I will tell you that there are several remaining vacancies in the department right now. It's my intention to have half of those vacancies filled by the end of next month, by the end of September, and the other half of those vacancies to be filled by the end of October. As a reminder, for the past 14 plus months, the Department of Cannabis Regulation, as well as other agencies, have been unable to fill vacancies or to hire new positions because of COVID-19 and the related fiscal crisis. There were various administrative freezes put on the ability to hire, but we are now out of that particular era and have moved aggressively and working in coordination with our personnel department to fill positions, all again with a intention and goal of being able to streamline our application process and reduce timelines associated with the process. Today's report will specifically cover information regarding the status of our cannabis licensing and social equity program and provide specific information updates regarding application and licensing process and share information related to the amendments that City Council made just back in July in an effort to reduce processing timelines and to streamline the application process. Those particular amendments became effective on July 1st. And again, the Department of Cannabis Regulation is working right now to accordingly update all of our systems, all of our internal procedures, communications to staff, and information and resources that will be made available to the public so that folks can navigate through these streamlined processes in an efficient manner. Next slide. As a reminder, just give a quick recap of information covered at the last Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting. We shared specific information regarding the licensing program in relation to Phase 3 Retail Round 1 application processing, the PCN application process, and application modifications. We also provided information about those updates to the municipal code, specifically the Cannabis Procedures Ordinance and the Cannabis Location Restriction Ordinance, and also shared specific information about social equity programming, specifically our seed grant program and the business licensing and compliance assistance program. I will now turn things over to our public relations specialist, Raina Plummer, who will quickly review our next steps.
Thank you, Director Packer. I will now continue with updates related to our activities to date. Next slide. The Department of Cannabis Regulation is taking every precaution possible to prevent the spread of COVID-19. To help protect the health of our customers and staff, and in line with Mayor Garcetti's directives, DCR has implemented the following. Cannabis Regulation Commission meetings will be held virtually and telephonically until further notice. DCR's public service counter is currently closed. DCR is conducting virtual inspections, and DCR licensing and information services are available via the website at cannabis.lacity.org or by phone at 213-978-0738. For more resources about COVID-19 from the City of Los Angeles, please visit corona-virus.la. In addition, on April 5th, 2021, the Department of Cannabis Regulation changed the operating hours of its licensing and information services, or virtual public counter. The virtual public counter is now available Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and closed on Fridays and holidays. Virtual public counter services include the operation of DCR's general phone lines and email systems. 3 to 4 DCR personnel will actively monitor DCR's main phone line during these new regular business hours to ensure coverage. If staff members are unavailable at the time of a call, calls will no longer be routed to the remaining members of the licensing team. DCR staff will return voicemail messages within 3 business days to callers who leave appropriate contact information, which includes a full name and phone number. We have made this operational change in order to dedicate more staff time to license application processes. As such, DCR staff will not be available to answer DCR's phone line nor respond to emails on Friday. Instead, on Fridays, licensing staff will be focused on license application processing, virtual inspections, and modification requests. Next slide. On Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, DCR attended the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council monthly meeting. Rocky Wiles, DCR's Compliance and Operations Manager, provided a presentation on the licensing and application process, as well as DCR's compliance and enforcement measures. Next slide. On Thursday, July 8th, 2021, Director Packer participated in a video interview with the Wall Street Journal as part of a piece on social equity programs. This piece was published on August 12th, 2021, and can be viewed on the Wall Street Journal's website. Next slide. On Tuesday, April 20th, DCR launched Spark, an initiative that seeks to engage a diverse group of stakeholders via the collection of stakeholder comments, the administration of stakeholder surveys, one-on-one stakeholder interviews, and facilitated discussions. The collection of stakeholder feedback concluded on July 16th, 2021. Further information will be provided later in today's commission meeting. I will now pass the presentation over to Jason Killeen, Assistant Executive Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Today, I'm going to provide some policy and licensing updates. I'm going to start with the policy updates. Thank you. On June 28th, 2021, the governor signed the state budget, which included provisions to consolidate the 3 state cannabis licensing agencies into one Department of Cannabis Control, and included funding intended to aid local agencies to move applicants through the state annual licensing process. The state also adopted new deadlines regarding provisional licenses. Next slide, please. At the local level, several ordinances went into effect in the beginning of July, so I'm going to briefly give an overview of each of the ordinances. On July 4th, ordinance amendments to the document requirement for temporary approval related to proof of deposit for Phase 3 retail round 1 applicants became effective. Those amendments also extended the cannabis application renewal fee payment deadline for all applicants for years 2019, 2020, and 2021 until July 31st, 2021. On June 22nd, the City Council also adopted additional amendments to Article 4 and Chapter 5, or Articles 4 and 5 of Chapter 10 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code related to licensing and land use restrictions. These amendments became effective on July 1st, 2021. Next slide, please. Several of these amendments were non-substantive in nature and related to typographical corrections or to provide consistency in terminology. For example, in section 104.1, the term canopy was changed to cultivation area without changing the definition because cultivation area is a term used throughout our ordinance. This table here provides an overview of some of the more substantive changes to Article 4. This is not a summary of all of the amendments. To review all of the amendments, individuals can navigate to the DCR website and click on the link for each of the amending ordinances at the top of the slide, and they'll be navigated to a place where the ordinance is stored on our website. The ordinances are also available online through the council file index. On July 1st, in section 104.03, provisions were added to require that a civil judgment concerning illegal commercial cannabis activity would become a reason to disqualify primary personnel and owners from applying for or holding a license. We also added language that the padlocking of a site would be a reason to make a business premises ineligible for licensure. The PCN process was amended to require that the applicant first submit a pre-application to DCR and pay applicable pre-application fees to determine compliance with the business premises location before the request was transmitted to the city clerk. The PCN request will only be transmitted to City Council if the location is in compliance with sensitive use restrictions and zoning requirements at the time the location is checked. The relocation modification language was clarified to allow phase 3 retail round 1 applicants to submit one request to relocate prior to December 31st, 2021 and not be subject to the relocation fee. And it establishes that the application date is when the modification form review fee is paid. The amendments also require that applicants with temporary approval cancel their current temporary approval before DCR issues a new one when relocating. A cancellation withdrawal form is available on DCR's website. It's form number LIC-4015-form. Next slide, please. Lastly, the allowable percentage in floor area for physical modifications to a business premises increased from 20% to 50% of the existing floor area, and from 500 square feet to 2,500 square feet maximum, whichever is less. Next slide, please. Can you please go back one slide? Thank you. Changes were also made to the requirements to obtain a temporary approval. Applicants no longer have to obtain a state license to get temporary approval from the Department of Cannabis Regulation. However, they still require a state license before they can operate. Language was added to state that temporary approval does not waive or otherwise circumvent other city or state requirements or necessary permits from the city, state, or other public agencies, including but not limited to a certificate of occupancy, permit, or authorization from the fire department, health permit from the County of Los Angeles, or authorization from the state. Penalties were also added that if an applicant is in violation of operational or permitting requirements, DCR may immediately suspend a temporary approval if the applicant is conducting commercial cannabis activity without all necessary permits, inspections, or similar clearances to operate from another city, state, or other public agency, or if the applicant is conducting commercial cannabis activity without an active state license for that commercial cannabis activity. As it relates to section 104.20, which are our social equity provisions, we reorganized portions of those equity share requirements. Next slide, please. Article 5 of Chapter 10 was amended. That's commonly referred to as the land use ordinance. Several definitions were amended to clarify the meaning of various sensitive uses. We also established how to identify a sensitive use by providing the publicly available websites where these sensitive uses would be listed. Some of these changes, in summary, clarified when another retailer or micro business commercial cannabis activity has planted its flag at a location, which would impact a new retailer or commercial cannabis activity seeking a license within 700 feet. Basically, if a business has either temporary approval or they have paid the temporary approval application fee or the business premises relocation fee, and they're deemed eligible for further processing and they're eligible to move forward at that location, that creates a flag that would have a 700-foot buffer around it that would preclude other retail storefront or micro business retail storefront businesses from moving within 700 feet. Prior to this change, the code required that applicants have both a city license and a state license in order to create a buffer. We also clarified how to measure the distance between commercial cannabis activity businesses and sensitive uses, and between two commercial cannabis activity businesses. DCR has always measured from the closest property line from where the commercial cannabis activity is happening to the closest parcel line where a sensitive use could be to determine what the distance is. So we wanted to make sure that was extremely clear within the ordinance, because typically in other sections of the code, other departments measure from parcel line to parcel line. So some folks were not doing the measurements correctly, so they weren't sure whether or not they could move forward at a given property. We also established that a proposed location is deemed compliant with the required distances in section 105.2 from a sensitive use when that sensitive use is publicly available to DCR on the verification date. And I'll get into that in more detail later in the presentation. Additional information and forms are going to be shared over the next several weeks with the public through our website. We're extending the date for existing medical marijuana dispensaries which are our phase 1 applicants who applied under LAMC section 104.7, to basically come into compliance with the zoning distance and sensitive use restrictions. It was extended to December 31st, 2025. That will give individuals additional time to find compliant locations to either move their retail storefront activity or their non-retail activities. And after December 31st, 2025, EMMDs will have to comply with current zoning requirements and property distancing. Sensitive uses that previously allowed for them to operate at a location would then ultimately be considered a sensitive use and require them to locate to a compliant location under the revised Article 105. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to start providing licensing program updates. Next slide, please. For the licensing section, I'm going to jump into the impact of the ordinance amendments on the licensing program. Currently, as the director mentioned, we're updating our licensing portal. There are also going to be several updates to various application processes, the PCN process, pre-application review, temporary approval application, modification request. I also want to provide a general licensing reminder that the 2022 temporary approval renewal period will start on September 2nd, 2021. This is a statutory deadline for DCR to begin this process. So licensees who hold 2021 temporary approval licenses, those 2021 records will be updated to a status of eligible for renewal on September 2nd, and licensees will have the opportunity to begin submitting their 2022 temporary approval renewal applications to the department, and I'll get into that in more detail later. I do want to remind folks of our phase 2 deadlines, and then I want to provide the commission with our current licensing and application data. Next slide, please. Regarding our recent ordinance amendments, these were recommended by DCR to streamline application process and reduce timelines associated with the application processes. They were adopted by City Council. Some of them went into effect on July 1st, others went into effect on July 4th. I will provide highlights of these ordinance amendments. Next slide, please. Due to the two ordinances, DCR has made the licensing portal unavailable for new applications to be submitted. The portal will reopen on October 1st, 2021 for pre-application review. Existing applicants and licensees still have the ability to conduct business on their existing phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 records, respond to department inquiries, as well as submit modification requests, as well as begin the renewal process for 2022 starting next month. We are updating various processes related to legacy records and workflows. We don't have an intention to take down the system for a prolonged period of time to do any of these updates. However, existing applicants and licensees will start to see changes either in the way their record statuses are reflected through the DCR licensing portal and or the masking identification number associated with their particular DCR record. We will be providing additional information and sending emails as these changes are being made. Next slide, please. So the recent ordinance amendments adopted by council have several benefits for our applicants and licensees. So just jumping into details, the public convenience or necessity request under the old process, DCR didn't have the authority to process an application unless or until a public convenience or necessity finding was made. This meant that when these were transmitted to the city council for consideration, DCR hadn't done any analysis to determine whether or not that record could even move forward if a PCN finding was made. And it also didn't shield PCN applicants from effectively being knocked out by other sensitive uses because they hadn't actually gone through any of DCR's formal process to submit an application. They hadn't done pre-application review. They weren't deemed to be compliant with the land use ordinance. So even if a PCN finding was made, if that particular location wasn't compliant, then they would be determined ineligible and not able to move forward. We'll be getting into the pre-application process in more detail over the next couple of slides, as well as the temporary approval and modification process. And I will be talking a little bit about specific updates to our licensing portal, our internal procedures, and the public information that's going to be posted on our website, including workflows, the information and procedure bulletins, etc. Next slide, please. Before I get into some of the nuances of the particular licensing processes, I do want to specifically talk about ordinance number 187094, which amended Municipal Code section 105.2C. This is our land use ordinance. Some of the biggest things that have changed over the last 2 months are tied to this ordinance. The first and probably the most significant for all applicants and folks that have been in our process that did not have a license was, under the new law, an applicant's proposed business premises location shall be deemed compliant with the required distances specified in section 105.2 if the proposed business premises location complies with the required distances from all sensitive uses that are publicly available to the Department of Cannabis Regulation on the verification date. And this is important because under the old code, a applicant didn't actually get deemed compliant with any of our land use provisions until a license was issued, which means that DCR, who's been working with some of our applicants for over 3 years as they move through the temporary approval process, we were spot checking the location to see if it was still compliant over time, but the applicant themselves couldn't be deemed compliant until DCR was ready to issue a license. So there were several instances where phase 2 applicants, as well as phase 3 round 1 applicants, were deemed ineligible for further processing at their existing proposed business premises location because a daycare located next to them after the application was submitted, a school may have relocated after the application was submitted, and for a number of other reasons that cause sensitive uses to move from one location to another. This ultimately resulted in individuals putting time and money into a location that they weren't going to be eligible to use, and they were forced to submit a relocation request to find another compliant location. Under the new code, once the pre-application is submitted, DCR has the ability to determine compliance based on a fixed period of time. And if it's compliant at that point in time, a sensitive use moving next door to them would not preclude the applicant from being able to move forward. Also, any sensitive uses that are not publicly available to the Department of Cannabis Regulation on the verification date shall not disqualify an applicant's proposed business location. DCR relies upon various government agencies and the data sets that they provide to the public to determine whether or not a location may meet the definition of a sensitive use. So whether it's the Department of Social Services, the Department of Education, the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks, the City of Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department, they all publish lists. And DCR shall rely upon those lists to determine whether or not something can be considered a sensitive use based on that publicly available information. And DCR will only refresh those lists once per quarter. So at the start of every quarter, we will pull the list and that data will be good until we refresh the list a quarter from that date. For applications that were pending that, temporary approval application fees had already been paid, we sought authority to determine compliance as of the effective date of the ordinance. So DCR has the ability to determine compliance based off of a July 1st, 2021 date. And that's currently what we're doing is all of the pending temporary approval applications, and there's over 500 of them right now. We have been going back to determine compliance and sending communications out to applicants to let them know where they stand from a land use perspective. And, folks will now have peace of mind whether or not they can continue moving forward at a given location, or if they're going to have to find a compliant location and relocate. Next slide, please. The big changes to the definitions, and a lot of these definitions are new and were created to implement the land use ordinance, was first application date. That's the date the applicant pays all pre-application review or modification form review fees. The payment of the fees is extremely important. The sooner an applicant or a licensee pays that fee, the sooner we're able to lock in an application date. If the fee is not paid within the 30 days that applicants and licenses are given to pay the invoices, it's deemed abandoned and they have to restart the process, which means that the application date will be sometime after they submit a new request to either pre-application, temporary approval, or modification request. So it's very important for folks to remember to pay their fees so they can lock in their application date. The second is publicly available. So DCR has identified the official lists. The initial lists are published within the ordinance, and DCR has the ability to maintain that list and update it as necessary within our rules and regulations. The third big piece was sensitive use. Those are alcoholism or drug abuse recovery and treatment facilities, daycare centers, public libraries, public parks, schools, and or permanent supportive housing. So information on where to find those lists is available in the ordinance, and it will be available within our rules and regulations in the near future. It's very important for existing applicants and prospective applicants to familiarize themselves with each of these definitions, where they can find the information and how to determine if a location could be a sensitive use. And the last important change is verification date. That's the first business day of the calendar quarter that DCR will be pulling the sensitive use data information. We will be pulling it on February 1st, May 1st, August 1st, and November 1st, or the first business day that immediately follows the start of the quarter. For all applications that are submitted after the verification date, basically that verification date shall be utilized for determining compliance. So every quarter we'll have a fixed list Applications will be reviewed within that quarter against that list. So if new sensitive uses are popping up during the quarter, it will not negatively impact applicants or licensees, but it will become part of the next list when it gets refreshed. So it may be beneficial for folks to start looking at things immediately after the data gets pulled, because then they'll have the maximum amount of time to determine if a location could be compliant and make a business decision about whether or not they want to move forward with a particular location. Next slide, please. In terms of the amended public convenience or necessity process, the purpose of the public convenience or necessity process is to give prospective applicants an opportunity to seek a finding of public convenience or necessity from the city council at a location where the community plan area has already reached undue concentration. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, under the old process, DCR didn't even have the ability to process an application until a finding was made. Under the revised code, prospective applicants have an opportunity to go through the pre-application review process, which means that they will get an application date and a verification date. And if DCR determines compliance with the land use ordinance, and we determine that the prospective applicant needs a PCN finding in order to submit a temporary approval application, one, they've locked in the location, and then two, when their PCN request gets submitted to city council, if the council members had questions about, how many businesses are in a community plan area, where is the proposed business location in proximity to other businesses, how is it geographically located within the community plan area, is there a concentration of businesses, is there an absence of businesses, is it adjacent to other municipalities that don't have commercial cannabis regulations, so there may be higher demand in that area. DCR will now have an opportunity to do that type of review and analysis and provide quantitative information to the council members if they have questions, to help them in determining whether or not a particular application could meet the definition of public convenience or necessity. That was something that was absent from the original process. Again, paying the pre-application fees locks in the application date and the verification date. DCR is not currently accepting PCN requests. More information will be forthcoming when that process will begin. Next slide, please. The amended pre-application process will be beginning on October 1st, 2021. The purpose here is we've revised the workflows to reflect the streamlined ordinance, as well as put a focus on determining compliance with the land use ordinance. We're no longer going to be requiring specific forms as part of the pre-application review process. Specifically, we're not going to need the legal business name, we're not going to need the entity type, we're not going to need the business ownership or primary personnel information at this stage. There will be two attestations, one for the landowner to attest that the proposed business premises location is not ineligible for licensure, and then one from the applicant to attest that the application is not ineligible for licensure, the entity hasn't been cited, etc. And then of course, we'll be doing the land use review. Once we've completed our, once the pre-app fee has been paid, that will set the application date and verification date for compliance purposes. If the pre-application is deemed eligible for further processing, the applicant must submit a temporary approval application within 60 days. So when pre-applications are coming in, you do not have to have site control. You do not have to have an executed lease, but you should have had at least a conversation with the landlord to, one, get them to sign the attestation that attests that that wasn't a site of unlicensed commercial cannabis activity. It wasn't subject to a utility disconnection. It wasn't subject to being padlocked for unlicensed commercial cannabis activity. And two, it will give you a period after you get that determination to negotiate the lease or to purchase the property so that you can move forward at that location. If you do not submit the temporary approval application within the 60 days, the pre-application review will close and you will have to restart the process by going through the pre-application again. Once a temporary approval application is submitted, an invoice will be immediately generated from for the temporary approval application fee, and you will have 30 days to pay that fee, which is consistent with the code. Next slide, please. DCR is not currently accepting new pre-applications. We're going to reopen that process on October 1st, 2021. When we reopen the process, the anticipated average processing time will be 30 days. Next slide, please. In terms of the amended temporary approval process, DCR has decoupled its process from other city, state, or government agencies. Specifically, DCR is no longer requiring proof of a state license before we're eligible to issue temporary approval. We're no longer requiring a fire life safety inspection. We're no longer requiring proof of a certificate of occupancy. In order to utilize the temporary approval, applicants and licensees are still going to have to meet the requirements of all of the various agencies, but somebody's inability to navigate through a process that is outside of DCR's control will no longer preclude them from moving through DCR's process. We will no longer be requiring staffing plans, security plans, standard operating procedures, or radius map attestations as part of the temporary approval process. Specifically, because we are no longer requiring licensees to provide state licenses before they get temporary approval, we've decoupled those documents from the temporary approval application because the state has a big say in staffing plans, security plans, standard operating procedures. And we want to make sure that the applicant is submitting the same information to DCR as it is to the state. Therefore, we will be collecting as part of our annual application process, which would occur after the applicant has gotten their either state provisional or annual license. Changes don't waive or circumvent any other city or state requirements in terms of permits. So, you could be found non-compliant if you haven't met everybody else's requirements. Notices of violation can be issued based upon other agencies notifying DCR and the applicant that a corrective action hasn't been cured for an outstanding violation. For those issues, the applicant may request an administrative hearing. For issues of an immediate fire life safety issue or public safety issue, DCR can suspend the license without a hearing. Our anticipated average processing time for temporary approvals will be 90 days. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, the temporary approval application is no longer dependent on non-DCR permitting processes. Applicants don't have to provide a state license to DCR. Dual licensure is still a requirement under the law. However, DCR will not be verifying compliance with the state requirements before issuing temporary approval. In terms of the state confirmation of local authorization, the state has 3 categories: local compliance underway, in compliance, not in compliance. Next slide, please. In compliance means that the local jurisdiction has determined that the applicant is compliant with local ordinances and regulations and that the applicant is authorized to engage in the requested commercial cannabis activity. If DCR notifies the state that a licensee is in compliance or an applicant is in compliance, the state could issue an annual or provisional license, which means that in order to get to in compliance, the environmental analysis will have to be completed prior to DCR ever reporting a status of in compliance to the state. To date, DCR has always relied upon the second checkbox on the list, which is local compliance underway. DCR is working with the applicant. DCR authorizes the applicant to continue with the state licensure process. And as a result of that, the state may issue a provisional license as the applicant moves through the state's other licensing process. A status of local compliance underway will be provided to the state for any applicant or licensee who has not completed the environmental analysis required under CEQA. So basically, for all categories of applicants and licensees, we have reported local compliance underway, not in compliance to the state. And then, of course, the last box is not in compliance. If you have not submitted a complete temporary approval application, which means all of the required forms are in the correct form and manner, paid all of your fees, DCR will not report local compliance underway. Even if you have a pending record, if you have not submitted a complete temporary approval application, you are not in compliance. And if we report that to the state and you are unable to cure that within 60 to 90 days, the state may deny your state application. Next slide, please. In terms of local compliance underway, applicants have to complete the pre-application review process. The applicants also have to submit a complete temporary approval application, no exceptions. DCR is no longer providing standalone letters or notices of local compliance underway. Since we've decoupled from the state, we don't have to proactively give you a letter as independent evidence that local compliance is underway. Applicants can successfully use copies of their invoices, copies of their local application as evidence on their state application. The state will reach out to us, and if you've submitted a complete temporary approval application, we will report local compliance underway. When we go live with the updates after October 1st, as records are deemed to have complete temporary approval applications, which just means that all of the required forms are in the correct form and manner, DCR will send an email communication to applicants letting them know that their record status has been updated to local compliance underway, and they'll be able to see that status through the DCR licensing portal. And again, that email confirmation could be another piece of evidence used to satisfy the state's requirement for some evidence of local compliance. Next slide, please. DCR is changing the way it processes application and license modification requests. Our current process, which is available through October 31st, 2021, has been what our stakeholders have identified as a pain point. Folks have said that it's too sequential, and they feel that the piecemeal approach does not adequately meet their business needs. So currently, folks have to register their intent. DCR has 4 different sets of record types and has to determine where the record is in terms of the different processes for each of the phases to determine what modifications can or cannot be submitted. We have folks submit a modification cover sheet, pay the modification cover sheet review fee. If DCR determines that it could be eligible for further processing, we request additional documents and invoice the requester for the additional a la carte fees associated with those documents. Applicants and licensees have an additional 30 days to pay the invoice. And then once the invoice is paid and all of the required forms have been submitted, DCR continues its review of the modification request. That is the reason why modification requests take as long as they currently do, because it's file an intent, submit a modification record, then go ahead and pay your fees. We do an initial review. We see if we can further consider it. We request additional documents. We issue another invoice. We have to wait for the invoice to be paid, and then we pick up reviewing it. And there are hundreds of modification requests in the queue that are being actively worked on. And when folks don't get us the information that we're seeking, we have to stop processing that modification until we receive it. The new process that will be in effect after September 1st is everything will be collected on the front end. You will be able to go into the licensing portal, file your modification request, upload all of the required documents and forms, and they get a single invoice for all of the applicable fees. And then once that invoice is paid, DCR will review the request, determine whether or not all of the required forms and documents have submitted, and if they have been, we will immediately start processing the request. Moving forward, the anticipated processing time is going to be between 30 and 120 days, depending on the modification type. And I'm going to go ahead and get into that in a little bit later in the presentation to give folks an idea of what types of requests could be processed in 30 days and what types of requests are going to be processed in 120 days and why. Next slide, please. The new process that's going to be effective September 1st, the purpose is to streamline this process and reduce processing times. Our impacts for the applicants are by DCR shifting to specific application information when it's submitted and changing how that information gets submitted. It's going to eliminate the need for most applicants to request modifications before temporary approval is issued. So by not talking about who the owners are, by not getting business entity information during the pre-application review phase, the first time that that information will be presented to DCR is when the temporary approval application is submitted. And because we're not taking piecemeal applications anymore, everything has to be submitted at once, and DCR should be able to complete the review in 90 days. So hopefully, folks are not attempting to change the business entity or substantially change the owners pursuing a license within that 90-day period. If they are, they will be required to submit a new pre-application and restart the process. For our licensees, for minor modification requests, those requests should be processed within 30 days, updating your legal business name, adding, removing owners when it's not 100% change, updating contacts on the record. All of those will be processed very quickly. For major modification requests, this modification process will facilitate the creation of a new record. So if you're doing an entity substitution, 100% ownership change, or you're trying to relocate all of your licenses or some of your licenses, once we've started that modification process and it's been deemed filed, a new record will be created to facilitate that change. And you will continue to have your old record with whatever status is associated with it, which would be temporary approval. You would still be able to operate under the old entity, the old ownership group, and any of the activities that are licensed at that location in compliance with the code. While DCR is processing the temporary approval application for the major modifications, once DCR is ready to issue temporary approval for the new record, you will be required to submit the withdrawal or cancellation form for your existing licenses at your old record. And once that's submitted, your old record will be deprecated or will change the status to expired licenses and will issue new licenses out on the new record. Next slide, please. This is a summary of the modifications that will be changes to the existing record. Legal name changes, removing commercial cannabis activities, updating the business premises diagram, updating the fictitious business name, submitting withdrawals or cancellations. Those 5 changes can be done on pending temporary approval applications all the way through annual license records or annual license applications. If somebody is attempting to do an entity substitution of a phase 3 round 1 application or a relocation of a phase 3 round 1 application, DCR will still consider them for pending temporary approval applications through December 31st, 2021. And of course, once temporary approval or a license has been issued, we'll continue to accept them. If somebody is attempting to remove or add owners, and it's less than 100% change, or they're changing the ownership structure, you will only be able to do that type of change once a license has been issued. Next slide, please. And these are the modification types that require a new record. 100% ownership changes, entity substitutions, relocations of activities, adding activities. None of these modifications will be accepted on a pending temporary approval application. You must have a license in order to do 100% ownership changes, entity substitutions, or relocations. In terms of adding cannabis activities, DCR is no longer going to allow applicants or licensees to add activities to an existing record it fundamentally changes the project description, which has been preventing us from starting the environmental analysis on large swaths of our pending applications. Therefore, if you would like to add an activity, you will have to submit a new application. And once a license has been issued for that activity, there will be an opportunity to combine the records into one record moving forward. But until your new activity request has caught up to whatever your application is, and you become licensed, it will have to be treated as a separate record. Next slide, please. General reminder, DCR provides services after records are deemed filed. A record is deemed filed after the record has been created in the licensing portal, applicable fees have been timely paid, and all required forms, documents, and information have been submitted. As previously discussed, paying the invoice is very important because it defines your application date, which DCR needs in order to determine compliance with various provisions within the ordinance. Our 2022 temporary approval process will begin on September 2nd. For folks that have 2021 temporary approvals, those records will be updated to eligible for renewal. Those records will expire after 11:59 p.m. on December 31st, 2021, and will automatically be updated to a status of expired license. If you would like to continue operating in 2022, you must submit a renewal application. You must receive temporary approval on that renewal application. To file a 2022 temporary approval application, you have to create your renewal application within the licensing portal. You have to submit all required pre-application and temporary approval application documents in the current document format, and you have to pay all applicable renewal fees. Next slide, please. The updated record ID masking rules that are going to go into effect are going to have LA for City of Los Angeles, which it currently does. Records either normally have a -C or a -P. That's going to be expanded to differentiate between general non-social equity, which will be -Cs. -Ps are records that require a public convenience or necessity finding, and -S are going to identify social equity records. So currently, social equity applicants have -Cs. So DCR is in the process of converting those record types to -S. For licensees, that will change. The masking will change when you submit your 2022 renewal application. For pending applicants, we will be updating records on a rolling basis. The 2 digits that follow the record type are just associated with the year. So when you submit a 2022 renewal application, the year will be 22. When you submit a renewal application for 2023, it'll be 23. So records are only good for 1 year. They expire at the end of that calendar year. They have to be renewed. You have to submit the renewal license, and the records will always reflect the most current year. In terms of the number sequence, the first 2 digits reflect phase and round, if applicable. The phase 1, phase 2s will phase 1 start with a 1, phase 2 start with a 2, phase 3 round 1 starts with a 3-1. We'll be using that numbering sequence into perpetuity, and more information will come out for how future phases will be reflected. The next 4 digits are just your record sequence. DCR is going to do its best to make sure that that 6-digit number sequence stays with the record as it gets renewed into perpetuity. So it makes it easier to identify the historical record numbers. So we'll be making those changes on a go-forward basis. We are introducing a new location code. So there are phase 1 applicants that have been bifurcating their licenses, keeping some license at location 1. They're getting licenses at location 2, similar to the way that finance has a master account for the taxpayer ID, and that 10-digit code doesn't change. They have a location code, which is the last 5 digits, and that changes based on the actual address location. We will be doing the same thing for our records, so that as applicants and licensees reach out to DCR, we can use that location code to identify which of their locations they're talking about, so that requests for service don't get commingled or mixed up because the wrong record identifier was utilized. We'll also be keeping track of how records are deprecated for the entities. Entity substitutions have been authorized for phase 3 round 1 applicants, and DCR will be opening up that process to phase 1 and phase 2 applicants. For folks that submitted a legal business name change that is not a legal business name change, it's really an entity substitution, you will be getting a notification before the end of the month about what you need to do to submit a formal entity substitution request. And then we're going to have new suffixes going into effect. Currently, our suffixes are pre-app and app. We will be introducing TMP for temporary license, LIC for annual license, and REN for renewal. So folks will start to see those new suffixes. Next slide, please. And the last thing I have for our commissioners is I just want to remind folks of our phase 2 deadlines. Phase 2 applicants cannot assert limited immunity by operation of law under LAMC section 10408C. Limited immunity for phase 2 applicants is over. You either have a pending application or you have a temporary approval license. There is no more gray area. Phase 2 applicants that fail to obtain temporary approval by September 30th may have their application deemed abandoned. All applicants that have not been granted temporary approval by September 30th, 2021 shall upload all required temporary approval documents to their DCR record by September 30th, 2021. Or 2, have a modification request that was approved between January 1st, 2021 and September 30th, 2021. Applicants must be making substantial progress to implement the modification request and or update their temporary approval documents within 30 days of the request being approved, or your request could be deemed abandoned just based on you missing deadlines for getting additional information in and or not paying the applicable modification fees. Or 3, have a pending modification request submitted by September 30th, 2021. So if we have any pending modification requests that have not been processed by September 30th, 2021, it will not immediately result in the abandonment of the record. Folks would have the 30 days to implement those changes once DCR has made a determination of eligibility. And phase 2 records that do not comply with these requirements by September 30th shall be deemed abandoned under the code. All applicable payment, filing, and or document submission required deadlines still apply, so they do have to adhere to them or the records could be abandoned. Next slide, please. In terms of our licensing numbers, we have 148 businesses that have temporary approval for 1 or more activities. We have 545 pending temporary approval applications. This is where the bulk of our land use review has been going to determine compliance based on the revised code. We currently have 55 applications that are in the pre-application review stage. In total, we have 1,089 businesses across all of our various phases within our regulatory scheme. Next slide, please. And then just the status on phase 3 retail round 1. 81 of the 203 businesses that are eligible to participate in retail round 1 have uploaded 1 or more temporary approval documents. 52 of the 81 have uploaded the minimum number to have a completed temporary approval application and have their status updated to local compliance underway. 28 of the 52 have scheduled an initial inspection with DCR. 25 of those 28 have passed their inspection, and 16 have actually received temporary approval. Next slide, please. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Dr. Amani Brown, our Social Equity Program Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kareem. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Next slide, please. As I always begin my presentation with the mission statement for the Social Equity Program, which is to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. Next slide, please. At this juncture, I will do a brief overview of our program benefits and resources, application processing, Seed Grant Program, and the Pro Bono Legal Services Program. Next slide. Application processing. Now, this slide provides an overview of the license types currently available to social equity applicants. And please make sure to continue to refer to our website for updates regarding the ability to submit new applications. Next slide. Our Seed Grant Program. Later on today, we will have, go back please. Thank you. Later on today, we'll have a robust presentation, and you'll hear more about our Seed Grant Program, which closed yesterday, August 18th. Oh my goodness, hold on a second, my earbud just fell out. Sorry about that, folks. It closed August 18th. And Paula Groves from Elevate Impact will provide an update on our grant administration. Next slide. Our Pro Bono Legal Services Program. It now has the ability to add additional attorneys that are on hand to assist eligible applicants with pro bono legal services. If you're interested, please refer to our website to sign up for the service. Next slide, please. You can go to our website and you will see, go to the resources and benefits page on social equity, and then go to Pro Bono Legal Services and click on the Pro Bono Legal Services. And you'll see the arrow points to the two forms that you must fill out, the Pro Bono Legal Services Survey and the Authorization Agreement. And that is found on our website. And last but not least, next slide, please, is our Pro Bono Legal Services. And we're going to have a robust presentation for you later on today in this commission meeting. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Director Packer.
Thank you, team. I appreciate the robust contributions to the executive director's report. Can we go back one slide, please? Thank you. I appreciate all of the staff contributions to this executive director's report. Commissioners, you'll note DCR is very busy right now as we work to implement all of the various changes to our local ordinances that were detailed in today's executive director's report, primarily with the intention of trying to streamline our application process and to reduce timelines associated with various application processes. We've come back to this commission time and time again and to City Council with recommendations on how we go about streamlining our process. We knew that in order to streamline our application process, particularly with the volume of applications and licensees that were seeking various modification requests, that in order for us to reduce timelines, to be quite frank, we were going to have to reduce some of the requirements and some of the hurdles that folks would have to go through. And so we worked very intentionally to think about our pre-application review process, the temporary approval process, how our process fits in line with the state licensing process. And because of changes that were recommended by DCR and subsequently adopted by City Council, we are now in a position where we can articulate that beginning on October 1st, we have these processing timelines associated with the pre-application process. You've heard our Assistant Executive Director, Jason Colleen, articulate average processing times for things like the pre-application review process, again, by removing some of those requirements early on, by simplifying the application process itself. We will now be able to process and review applications. The goal was within about 30 days. And then also communicated today that the temporary approval process, because there have been changes made to the process and in statute, and then also just internally in the way that we administer the process, that we should be able to review applications for temporary approval and make determinations within 90 days. I want to be intentional about articulating these particular processing timelines and goals, because I know that stakeholders, our commissioners and city council have been pushing us to try and increase transparency and accountability in those processes. And so we will continue to report back in future executive directors' reports on our performance and our ability to meet these articulated processing timelines that we have committed to today. Again, the intention is to implement these changes beginning on October 1st. Right now, we're very busy with all of the detailed complexity, some of the nuance that was mentioned today, making sure that our licensing portal can process and accept these applications according to the new amended ordinance, and that our staff are properly trained and understand the way that the amended ordinances have changed the pre-application review process, the PCN process. And then similarly, we want to make sure that all of our public-facing information, whether it be the information that we provide at a commission meeting, the information that's on our website, our forums, our video tutorials, all of those need to be updated to reflect this streamlined process. And so it's my intention at the next commission meeting to be able to walk folks through those specific changes to our public resources and to allow members of the public and commissioners to make comments on those particular changes. But with that, that will conclude the executive director's report.
Thank you, Ms. Packer. With that, I want to open up the floor to deliberations. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
This is Commissioner Villa, President On. I just want to thank all the members of the CRC for their hard work in getting this done. It's a tremendous presentation today, and it's clear that forward progress is being made. And so I just want to thank everyone and let them know we appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. Vice President Mason.
Hi, staff, well done. I want to commend you on not only listening to the criticisms that have been many, but for leaning into this work and for being intentional about the changes that you have made to better serve the cannabis community. I'm happy to hear about the reduced timelines and the streamlined processes internally, and hopefully I'd like 90 days, and maybe, who knows, let's be optimistic, you might be able to get it done sooner. So kudos to you all for stepping up to the plate and doing that work. And I look forward to the changes in the public resources, that report next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo those sentiments. Really appreciate all the hard work that's been ongoing in the department. It's been a challenge. It's no secret that we have been delayed. And as I'm looking at the calendar, I mean, we are now approaching the 2-year mark since we had initially opened up the applications. And so we know that there are many folks out there that have been obligated to leasing requirements during that time. And I don't think anybody could have anticipated this, but this is exactly the type of forward progress that we need in light of the the constraints that we have. We just have to work a lot more efficiently and figure out a system that gets us there faster. And so I think that this is a giant step in that direction. And I know there are countless hours that went into architecting this. So I really appreciate all of your efforts towards that end. And just moving forward, I just want to encourage us to continue to think of ways that we can, eliminate these obstacles and whatever hurdles and steps that there are in this process to continue to make it streamlined and increasingly more efficient as we go. I'm sure as we go through this process, we're going to continue to learn about the system that's been created and modified, and we'll continue to find better ways to increase efficiencies. And hopefully in the long term, we'll be able to get more reinforcements, more resources into the department that will alleviate much of all of this. So again, I just want to express my appreciation to the staff, and looking forward to the results of this new modified system. And with that, I want to move on to the next agenda item. We have item number 3. We're going to talk about the Spark program. Do we have a presentation from staff on this today?
We do. Thank you, Commission President Hahn. We will have a presentation for staff on the Spark program. Leading the presentation on behalf of the Department of Cannabis Regulation will be Ms. Raina Plummer, our Public Relations Specialist. Before Raina begins, I do want to use this as an opportunity to thank the commissioners for their partnership in participating in the Spark initiative on a number of different fronts, participating in the sessions and also in one-on-one interviews. We're still in the process of analyzing feedback, but I'm really excited about all of the feedback that we've received, as it was mentioned, even just in response to the executive director's report. This is a learning process, and we will continue to receive feedback, constructive feedback from you all and from members of the public, but want to be able to, as Vice President Mason articulated, lean in to the feedback that we're receiving from the community. That's important to do with a lens of equity as we listen to the folks who are most impacted by our policies and programs. So I do want to thank you all, commissioners, for your leadership, for your partnership in this effort. I think as we kind of look at the feedback comprehensively that will be available through the Spark report, it is going to require us to lean in to the recommendations from the stakeholders and community members who participated. And so this is just a interim report, but look forward to engaging more substantively as we talk specifically through the recommendations. And in addition to thanking the commissioners for their participation and leadership on this effort, I do want to give a special thank you to Ms. Raina Plummer for her efforts in really leading this effort, being project lead on behalf of the Department of Cannabis Regulation as we've moved through this initiative. I really appreciate your work, Ms. Plummer, and I will pass it to you to share today's presentation on the Spark program. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Packer. So as we've mentioned, on April 20th, 2021, DCR launched Spark, which is an initiative that engaged a diverse group of stakeholders via a few different ways through the collection of stakeholder comments, administration of stakeholder surveys, administration of one-on-one stakeholder interviews, and on-screen facilitated discussions. We did the collection of all of these materials since it launched to the ending date of July 16th, 2021. Next slide. So Spark is generally broken down into 5 key phases. These phases include collecting feedback, analyzing feedback, creating the report, developing and presenting the recommendations, and then action by council or council committees. And it's up to them to take action. We are currently in the analyzing feedback stage. As Director Packer mentioned, we have done a lot of different things to engage our stakeholders and really put together some thoughtful recommendations and a report and a video that will highlight the work that we were able to accomplish. Next slide. So when Spark launched, we launched not only with a dedicated web page on the website, the DCR website, but we also launched with a virtual meeting room. Both of these assets are still available for the community to access. The website has and the virtual meeting room have the past Spark sessions that you can view, all 8 of them. The resource stations are both still available and also include the whiteboards that were included in the Spark sessions. Basic PDFs of what the surveys were are available, and likewise the comment box has closed, but you can see kind of the whole layout of the virtual meeting room and what it was like and kind of still engage with those assets. Next slide. So, but for the Spark campaign, we hosted 8 Spark sessions. These were virtual events dedicated to specific topics we were seeking to get community feedback on, including licensing and regulation, the social equity program, corporate social responsibility, and community impact. Spark sessions 2 through 7 included 2 through 8 included a stakeholder comment period, which provided opportunities for participants to share feedback. In addition, sessions 5 through 8 included breakout rooms with whiteboards. An example of one on the right, kind of capturing and showing what our stakeholders were thinking and discussing throughout these breakout rooms. The recordings, again, are in this Spark virtual meeting room and on the DCR website. Next slide. So Spark surveys were substantive surveys on specific topics that we were trying to get feedback on. And these surveys provide us with feedback from all kinds of information on our existing policies and programs, ways we can expand services and programs. We had 4 surveys available to the public, and they closed on July 16th. And those surveys received around 200 responses in that time. Next slide. So the Spark comment box was a collection box that allowed members of the public and stakeholders to submit feedback to DCR. And when the comment box closed on July 16th, we received more than 125 responses in that comment box. So in addition to the surveys, comment box, and the Spark sessions, in July, NBI Media began hosting a series of one-on-one stakeholder interviews. These interviews were in-depth conversations with key cannabis policy and social equity stakeholders. Those interviewed included regulators from the state of California, other local jurisdictions, local social equity applicants here in LA, and community-based organization leaders. We've profiled some of those who we've interviewed. Part of what we heard in the Spark session was quite a few times was that our stakeholders viewed like Oakland as a model for some of the different policies and programs that we should mimic. So we spoke with representatives from Oakland. We spoke with representatives from not only San Francisco, but also from the state with the DCC, the Department of Cannabis Control, and those over equity and inclusion. Next slide. And again, we were able to speak with some of the stakeholders who engaged in the different Spark sessions, but we were also able to reach outside of our box and get more input from different stakeholders who really have a voice in the cannabis space. We spoke with both the commission president and vice president, Kika Keith, who is a social equity applicant and entrepreneur, and then Sarah Armstrong, who is also, she's the director of industry affairs for Americans for Safe Access and a very vocal stakeholder here in the city. And then again, we wanted to get in-depth analysis and feedback from all of those locally and nationally. So we spoke to Maritza Perez, who was able to give us some great feedback on, she's with the Drug Policy Alliance, on different licensing policy and social equity, how they all intermix and what different policies and programs could look locally and nationally. And lastly, that we have on here, but there's still others that we interviewed, is Felicia Carbajal, who is the executive co-founder and of the Social Impact Center. And she actually spoke about corporate social responsibility and community impact, and gave us some key things to consider when thinking about those different topics. Next slide. So again, we had an extensive campaign, and we really did hear a lot from our stakeholders. And so the report and recommendations that we are working on once we enter that creating report stage is regarding some of the following topics: licensing and regulation, social equity program eligibility and programming, corporate social responsibility reporting and standards, community impact opportunities, department operations and resources, community reinvestment, and next slide. Also, department transparency and public information and data, expedited processing and addressing application process delays, further reducing application processing times, reducing applicant and licensee response times, licensee relocation, other licensing topics, tax rates and increased transparency regarding the use of cannabis tax revenue, event licenses and on-site consumption, enforcement strategies, increase access to capital for social equity program participants, additional social equity programming, and the establishment of a community and stakeholder working group. So as you can see from those 3 slides, we really did hear a lot of things, but these were some of those main key topics that we were able to take away. And the report and recommendations will address that feedback that we got from stakeholders. Next slide. And lastly, the report will be very in-depth, but I wanted to pull out a few data points that we got from the Spark session surveys, comment box. And so all in all, we had 545 people attend our Spark sessions throughout all 8 sessions. We received 230 comments between not only the comment box, but also during our stakeholder comment period at the beginning of our Spark sessions. More than 200 Spark surveys were taken, and through our outreach initiatives, not only through email, which was, we reached about 31,000 people through our email initiatives and outreach, and then through our media engagement online and on radio and through different publications, we reached about 55,000 people. And that's still, you know, there's a lot more data that we're still collecting and gathering, and MBI Media is working on that report as we speak. We're in touch daily, and it's been actually quite great for me to hear and see and speak to the stakeholders and get a really good feeling of what they want and what they want to see, and be able to put that together and know that we have done what we can do to reach the maximum amount of people in order to increase the voices in this conversation. Next slide. And so, like I said, Spark is not over, so please still stay engaged. If you want to reference any of the materials from Spark, you can still visit the virtual meeting room, or you can go to our website, and we have the Spark landing page. We also have our email list and our for the department and the Spark email list. Please sign up for both. These will allow you to get updates on the Spark program as they're happening, including when the report is ready, recommendations are ready. So you definitely want to sign up for those. And again, there will be future updates and future Cannabis Regulation Commission meetings. So I'll now pass it back over to Director Packer.
Thank you so much, Raina, for sharing this presentation regarding the Spark program and giving our commissioners and members of the public an update on where we are in our process. I'm still in the process of reviewing and analyzing a lot of the comments and feedback that I've received, but because of our stakeholders' engagement and because of their continued involvement and participation, I'm really hopeful about the type of feedback and recommendations that both the department and the commission will have the opportunity to engage with. And as Ms. Plummer articulated, with so many of the different topics discussed, things like community reinvestment, our tax rate, corporate social responsibility, department transparency, things that are increasingly important to the department, and we recognize we want to be able to address on behalf of the community. I'm looking forward to at a future commission meeting, at the next commission meeting, sharing a preview of the Spark report and some of the video footage from the stakeholder interviews. We try to be very intentional about telling folks who are participating in this process that we needed to hear from them, even if it was criticism, as long as it was constructive. We wanted to receive all of the feedback that folks had so that we could move constructively towards improving our processes in programming with the intention of continuing to be a leader of cannabis reform efforts in ways that are equitable and responsible. So again, thank you to members of the public who have participated thus far. As Ms. Plummer articulated, Spark is not over. And so we will continue to ask for your involvement as this process moves forward. And I'll ask the same of the commissioners and commission leadership. But again, I want to thank you all for your participation thus far. And then also just say, get ready, because we're at a moment where we need to respond comprehensively to the feedback that we've received thus far. And we have both a opportunity and a responsibility to lead efforts to ensure that our programs are equitable and responsible. So I look forward to partnering with you all, commissioners, on bold recommendations to our city council, our mayor, and then also internally so that we can improve our execution and administration of our policies and programs. But that will conclude today's report on the Spark program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Backer. Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions regarding the Spark program?
This is Vice President Mason. I don't really have any questions. It was an interesting experience for me. Certainly unexpected, but nevertheless, I found it an opportunity to, it was almost cathartic. It was an opportunity to share some things that we really haven't been able to share in this space. So thank you for allowing us to participate.
Thank you. Commissioner Villa?
Excuse me, I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, the Spark program was an opportunity to do additional outreach and give people a forum to really provide input outside of say the commission public hearings procedure. And so, you know, I think it was fruitful in that we got additional commentary and input that we otherwise wouldn't have. And again, as Director Packer pointed out, now is the next step. Now we got to take that, all those inputs and comments, and then, you know, we've got to process it, analyze it, and then put it into action. And all of this, of course, is geared towards, you know, improving you know, our processes, our policies, and I have no doubt that we will be able to learn a lot of lessons from these exercises and implement them to the benefit of all of our stakeholders. So really looking forward to the next steps, but certainly the job is not yet finished. And with that, we'll move to item number 5. I'm sorry, item number 4. This is the Business Licensing and Compliance Assistance Program. Do we have a presentation on this as well?
We do. Thank you, Commission President On. My staff will lead a presentation today regarding the Business Licensing and Compliance Assistance Program. This effort will be led by our Social Equity Program Director, Dr. Brown. This is something that we're extremely excited about as well. Over the last several years, the department has worked kind of independently to try and create different types of technical assistance programs, whether it be events that we would do in person, workshops that we would do in person, or different resources or webinars that we may host online, but knew that we needed to be able to address the need to provide resources related to business licensing and compliance in a more intentional way. And so we have been working on that for quite some time in the department, but it really started with the ability to kind of map out the types of services and resources that we wanted to make available to the public and to our social equity program participants. and then doing a comprehensive search to identify partners and vendors who could help us to develop and implement that programming. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Brown and her respective staff and the rest of the DCR team who have supported Dr. Brown and her efforts over the course of the last several months specifically, but even before then, to launch our business licensing and compliance assistance programming. We have been working under an abbreviated timeline so that we could produce and have programming available to applicants as soon as possible. So I gave Dr. Brown and the vendors that we selected to help us with this effort very specific instructions that we needed to be able to develop and make available programming within the first 4 months of us contracting to do so. And that after this 4-month period, we could assess, receive additional input from stakeholders, and then work on a longer timeline. But I didn't want it to be 6-8 months before you all, members of the public, members of our commission, got to see the benefit and feel the benefit, receive resources made available through the Business Licensing and Compliance Assistance Program. And so Dr. Brown has led an effort to marshal the development and maintenance and distribution of what we know will be very professional and helpful resources. And today, Dr. Brown will be alongside our vendors, giving the commission and members of the public a very exciting update on all of those efforts to date. And so I will pass the presentation over to our Social Equity Program Director, Dr. Amani Brown.
Thank you so much, Director Packer. So let's just get right into it, if you don't mind. Just to give you a little bit of history, and you can go to the next slide. The launch of this program, as Director Packer said, has been a long time coming, as we all know. But I'd like to share the genesis of the program with the community, so to provide a little context of how we got here. Now, in 2019, DCR was allotted $3 million from the city's general fund for business licensing and compliance assistance. We issued our first bench of RFQs, requests for qualifications, on June 5th and received 21 proposals. We then issued our second bench of RFQs on November 20th of 2019, and we received 7 proposals. Our contracting process was then temporarily halted by the mayor's June 24th. The city of LA had a cost containment measure, and this was implemented in response to the budget deficit brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Thankfully, we were able to resume in September of 2020, signing contracts with 5 vendors for the Business Licensing and Compliance Initiative. Work began on May 2021 and has continued throughout the summer to deliver the launch of our first program in this week. Next slide. Okay, and with that, I will introduce our 5 vendors: North Star Alliances, Oaksterdam University, Los Angeles Metropolitan Churches, Wadeco Business Center, and High Development Demand. We're very fortunate today to have our vendors with us, and they'll provide updates regarding their specific scopes of work for the Business Licensing and Compliance, or better known as BLC, and they are as follows. We're excited to launch the program and the compliance assistance, and we begin this week with our virtual career fair, or it's called GROW 2021. GROW is going to take place this Saturday, August 21st, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. First up from our vendors is Ernesto Morales, and he's representing North Star Alliances, and he'll provide an update on their progress this summer. Ernesto, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the members of the commission and Director Packer, Dr. Brown, and the DCR staff for having us. It's great to be back engaging with you all and informing you of the progress from the last few months. As you might remember, my name is Ernesto Morales, and I am the CEO of North Star Alliances. For this project, I work hand in hand with Strategies 360 and the Cal Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce. Strategies 360 is a full-service communication firm with in-house creative, web, digital marketing, government affairs, and public engagement teams. The Strategies 360 team members are Irene Ibranosian, Senior Vice President, Brian Stedge, Vice President, and Talar Alex Onian, Director of Public Affairs. The Cal Asian Chamber is the largest ethnic chamber in the state of California. Since 2016, Cal Asian has been providing outreach, education, and business support services to minority communities that have been impacted by the war on drugs. The Cal Asian team members are Frank Louie, Chief Operating Officer, and Brandon Lewis, Program Manager. Next slide, please. Our team is responsible for the following scopes of DCR's Business Licensing and Compliance Assistance Program. Scopes 1.2, 1.3, and 1.7. Scope 1.2 is focused on providing education and training on commercial cannabis licensing, regulation, and business permitting in the city of Los Angeles and the state of California. In Scope 1.3, we have been developing digital assets and curricula related to general business development services for the public. Topics range from accounting and sales forecasting, payroll practices, insurance, financial planning, and fiscal management. And finally, Scope 1.7 pertains to the core of our work together, public outreach services. Next slide, please. These multiple tracks of work have kept us quite busy as we support DCR in building a truly equitable and accessible program that provides applicants, particularly from marginalized community, with the resources they need to succeed and thrive in the cannabis industry. Our team has developed a thorough communications, outreach, and engagement plan, and has built the framework for all the virtual communication forums hosted by the Department of Cannabis Regulations, Business, Licensing, and Compliance Assistance Program, in addition to the resource templates for SEP applicants to take advantage of. We have proposed several mediums for SEP applicants to access the tools and information they need to succeed as cannabis entrepreneurs and to engage with the department, including DCR BLC social media pages and its very own landing page, which will feature some current operators in the city and host relevant, user-friendly, and easy to understand educational content that empowers SEP applicants. We are working with DCR staff to finalize this virtual toolkit of resources, which will become accessible to the public very soon. In coordination with our subject matter experts, we also have developed pre-recorded video content centered on topics that will enable applicants to understand everything there is to know in launching a cannabis business. Next slide, please. We have developed a virtual toolkit of digital assets that builds the brand and reputation of the BLC program. We are the vendors that serve as your virtual event managers for all upcoming DCR events, organizing the nuts and bolts of event logistics, promotion, and day of the agenda coordination. We invite you and the public to join and participate in one or more of our upcoming informative events, starting with the Grow 2021 Career Fair that is taking place this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which will feature cannabis industry experts across a variety of fields from retail, manufacturing, cultivation, and distribution. We already have over 600 registrants, and the list of RSVPs is still growing. Next, we have the 3-night Cannabis Tech Week, which is next week, August 24th, 25th, and 26th. And the month of September is filled with content-specific webinars for SEP applicants. On that note, this concludes our presentation. Thank you again for this opportunity, and we look forward to our continued engagement together.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. That's great. And next up, we have Oaksterdam University, and Dale Sky Jones is representing Oaksterdam. Take it away, Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Good afternoon, Los Angeles, CRC, and public participants. I am Dale Sky Jones, CEO and Chancellor of Oaksterdam University and project lead for the Social Equity Program contract. Oaksterdam University has been involved in the earliest of cannabis policy reform and working on this issue specifically. We are looking forward to celebrating 25 years since our founders and faculty helped pass this first law, and whose shoulders we all stand on and who we serve today, the disenfranchised from the war on drugs. The past couple of months with this team, the DCR team, Director Packer, and a special thanks to Dr. Brown's Social Equity Program team, Allison, Catherine, and Ethan. This has proven to be a very successful and collaborative project while developing these educational materials and services for the business licensing and compliance priorities. I would like to also introduce the team of Oaksterdam University that has been working specifically on this project. First, Eric Lomo, our Director of Online, Natalie Darvis, our Dean of Faculty, Tara Bonhorst, our Instructional Designer, Gus Duarte, our Director of Operations, and Jesse Smith, wrangling us all, my Executive Assistant. Next slide, please. Our subject matter experts are helping us. We are happy to deliver. We're happy to report that our deliverables are on time and on track. So far, with enthusiastic approvals from the team on Dr. Brown's side with respect to Oaksterdam's work product. The expert practitioners that we have selected to help curate and deliver this curricula are for 2.1 inventory management, Wally Wong from Meadow Software, also deeply invested in equity education. For 2.2 marketing and branding, Tiffany Watkins, a woman of color who owns and founded Vanguard Media. Security, Mr. Chris Eggers. He runs and founded CCS Security Solutions, as well as is former law enforcement and used to work undercover. For 2.4 records retention, Miss Summer Jenkins. She is also, in addition to Capital Green Consulting founder, a risk assessment extraordinaire and a woman of color who is leading the charge for cannabis risk assessment and insurance services. And for 2.5, transportation and delivery, Sweet Flower Dispensary, also deeply invested in the social equity program locally, Lauren Benuelos and Linda Sandoval. And next slide, please. Brittany, if you'd be so kind, if you could go full screen before you press play on the video, or just go ahead and go full screen. This is what the learning management system will look like for all of our deliverables. Social equity participants will be able to log in to the Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation educational portal called an LMS, or Learning Management System, and select a series they wish to take. The portal will have each subject or series broken up into modules, such as this example, named Security Requirements and Infrastructure. The interface includes a short description, as well as what the viewer will be learning in each module. All curricula will be presented in video format with subtitles. The script of each video will also be available as a downloadable and searchable file. Following the video presentations, students will be able to test their knowledge through mastery exercises or quizzes. There's also a section that will contain digital assets, which are downloadable resources pertinent to each subject matter that will be useful for folks to run their business. The resources are also helpful examples for understanding the material presented by the subject matter experts. This is an example of an infographic. And you can go ahead to the next slide, please, Brittany, as soon as this is over. Okay. And you can go ahead and end this, and we'll go to the next slide. You might need to take it out of full screen as well. Great. So some of the digital assets are infographics like this one for quick reference when performing certain activities, such as highlighting the differences between branding and marketing while you're in brainstorming mode. Next slide, please. This is an example of a downloadable spreadsheet. This is just a close-up of a few bits of it. This is a new product evaluation tracker, and it could be used to help retailers assess products that they are considering carrying in their store inventory and track their evaluations and details of new products, such as potency, growing methodology, seasonality of the product and availability, distributor information, and the status of license verifications, as well as your internal quality ratings and external lab results, just to name a few. Next slide, please. And some of the resources are visual references to ensure compliance, and this will assist licensees and their staff to reduce the likelihood of fraudulent interactions. Here you see an example of a legitimate guard card. Next slide, please. Virtual workshops are scheduled from September through October of 2021 for participants to show up and ask live questions and get those answers from these subject matter experts. We were assigned originally for 1.3 general business development services from the first notice to proceed, and we're happy to report that we are on track and on time. We've either already submitted in full prior to this meeting, or it will be submitted by the end of this month. And all of these videos and interactions will be fully ADA compliant of at least a AA rating, which is excellent, perhaps even AAA qualified, which is the highest standard for accessibility in the industry. It far exceeds the requirements within the contract of this, and we wanted to make sure it was accessible as possible for all of the residents and participants of Los Angeles. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, last slide, please. This slide also, nope, if you could go backwards, we're already into LA Metro. I got ahead of myself. Thank you. So these dates just represent which portion is in what status, and SCORM just simply means that the entire package is turned over to be uploaded to the Los Angeles Learning Management System in full, including all of the ADA compliance and subtitles, things along those lines. In closing, the Oaksterdam University team is truly honored to work for the city and citizens of Los Angeles. Oaksterdam has been deeply invested in this endeavor, and we look forward to continuing under a new notice to proceed, exploring more subject matters in business operations and management, as well as workforce development. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I am Dale Sky Jones with Oaksterdam University. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And with that, our next vendor to present is Los Angeles Metropolitan Churches, and representing LA Metro is Brad Rowe. I'll turn it over to you, Brad. Thank you. Brad, you are on mute. Brad, you are on mute. You're on mute, Brad. Brad, you're on mute. Okay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can we give Mr. Rowe the permission to unmute himself?
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunities. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for getting me all squared away. Thank you for the opportunity to address the commission and the city of Los Angeles. My name is Brad Rowe, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Los Angeles Metropolitan Churches regarding the cannabis technology integration project that we're working on. Our team members are Cheryl Branch, the CEO of the organization, Kenneth Carter, Nicole Banks, Delara Uskup, and myself. The team includes experts with years of experience in video content production, compliance, education, and practical expertise around the cannabis industry and regulation of it. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Churches is a coalition of 80 churches in the metro area. LA Metro works with civic leaders and resident advisors to fight injustice and poverty. Next slide, please. We have convened the best and brightest and most accomplished cannabis operators and those in support industries. These experts are diverse, represent a broad range of experience and opinions, and can help the viewers immediately improve their comprehension of cultivation, testing lab, blockchain, and application technologies, which are our areas of focus. We've drawn from this pool to help build the standard operating procedures for the technology integration project deliverables as well. We have found the places where technology intersects with practical operational decisions. We've offered low-cost options and economical thinking to help get these operators up and running. Next slide, please. Our videos range in length and serve as the main components to educational modules that will allow viewers to access additional videos of experts, PDFs of important materials, and this is where they will take their quizzes. We have expert panel webinars. They're coming up next week. They will be moderated conversations lasting 50 minutes with 40 minutes for questions and answers. And from these convenings and videos, we have built checklists for technology integration that will be made available to these license holders. These include information along the whole supply chain from cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, retail, and delivery, informing the license holders where technology is imperative as they work to build a work plan for their staffs. Referral lists will provide technology solutions for all license types at low, medium, and higher price ranges. Next slide, please. Adult learners are different than younger ones. We're providing information that is applicable to the operations and employment of a cannabis license. We have brought the best experts in who also have personality and are approachable and speak in plain terms. Next slide, please. Tech Week is next week. Tuesday, August 24th, we will start with app technology integration featuring experts from WebJoint, Vanguard Media, and C4C, followed by cultivation tech integration featuring experts from MD Farms and Aquaponics 151 Farms. Wednesday, August 25th, we'll start with crypto blockchain technology featuring experts from Hyper, TrueTrace, and Everledger, followed by testing lab tech integration featuring experts from Ron Brooks Consulting and Epic Solutions. On Thursday, August 26th, we will have standard operating procedure technology integration featuring experts from D'Angelo Consulting, Simplifia, and Los Angeles Fire Department. Next slide, please. Our videos use imagery and music to carry the learners through the content. Our videos will be embedded in educational modules with quiz content so we can measure the learning that is happening. Each educational module will contain bonus content in the form of extended interviews with experts on the topics covered in the presentation. We've had the experts in cultivation, testing labs, apps, business, and standard operating procedures weigh in on what matters and what can be most helpful to a new growing business. Our talent is ready for Tech Week. They've been pre-interviewed and we have integrated their feedback to help focus on important issues that will resonate with the viewers. This is a sample of one of our educational videos. It's the testing lab technology integration video. It's a little over a minute and just gives you a little sample of what we're putting out. If you could play the video, that would be great. I don't know if we have sound. Do you have the audio for this up? Okay. All right. It seems like the audio is out, right. So we're going through in this case right here, looking at certificates of analysis, some samples, what these different testing lab techs should be looking at to be able to get the most out of their COAs. And obviously this is the ultimate product that they're creating for review and testing quality for products that are out there. Are you going to give it another try and see if we can get the audio up on this?
Hey, Brad, we won't have the audio for today, but folks can see the closed caption. Of course, they'll have audio when we go live.
No worries, no worries. You're just missing out on some really good beats. We have some good beats underneath. So, all right. Anyways, you get a good sense of what that is. Thank you for your time. We can take questions whenever if you would like. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And next up is Waco, and we have Connie Sparks, who will be representing Waco Business Center. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, for the opportunity to share our achievements with the City of Los Angeles Department of Regulations City Council. Good afternoon. My name is Connie Sparks, and I am the CEO of Waco Business Center. And joining me is my team, Tony Forge from Four Leaf Consulting, Christian Aragani, also with Four Leaf Consulting, Dr. Yasmin Davis, CEO of YD Leadership Institute, and Deja Raouf, our project assistant. Next slide. My team and I were tasked with Scope 2.1, workforce development, job outreach, and job placement services, primarily to design and administer a virtual career fair for social equity individual applicants and community members who are currently seeking a career within the cannabis industry, to network with operators and to discover potential employment opportunities. Now, our goal is to create an event that would highlight key features important to job seekers, such as finding career opportunities within the cannabis industry, connecting with employers, learning what it takes to thrive in the industry, and what other resources are available to them, just to name a few. And I am happy to report that we have met all of our deliverables for this scope. Next slide. To successfully execute our scope of work and launch a successful event, our deliverables included, but were not limited to, design and launch a communication plan to promote the career fair using social media, email campaigns, live calls, text messaging, and other industry platforms. Also, to onboard industry leaders and experts to serve on our panel and exhibitor sessions. To develop participant and operator surveys, which would allow us to capture useful data for the program. To develop a networking solution for participants, operators, and exhibitors to network preceding the event. And more importantly, to create an engaging environment and experience for participants, one that will motivate them to take part in the full scope of DCR's programs and services. And also to develop a self-assessment tool for social equity and transitional workers to better position themselves for gainful employment in the local cannabis industry. Next slide. One of the deliverables we are most excited about is the Employee, Employer Registry and Job Board. Thanks to creative collaboration with DCR, we were able to implement a beta version that allows for registered operators with open positions to post jobs and job seekers to upload their resumes and research job opportunities pre and post event. Now, during this period, it would give us an opportunity to capture data and get real-time feedback from users. We can use this information to strengthen the platform in preparation of being a vital long-term tool for SEIAs and operators. Next slide. It also, it gives me pleasure to announce DCR's Grow 2021 Cannabis Virtual Career Fair is official and will take place 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on August 21st. I would also like to take this time to quickly highlight our keynote speaker, Ms. Whitney Beatty, whom is a cannabis entrepreneur, and a few of our industry expert panelists, Natasha Brambach, who will cover CBD products that are vegan, gluten-free, GMO-free, and hemp-derived. Brian Mitchell, who will talk about growing clean and high-quality cannabis products. And then David Belsky will share his insight on best practices when seeking employment in the cannabis industry. This will be a full agenda with 3 operator panel sessions and 5 exhibition sessions with industry as ancillary service providers. And it will also include a 1-hour networking session to follow. I am proud to announce there are currently 600 registrations and growing. We look forward to seeing you at our virtual career fair, and please feel free to share this event and register at cannabis.lacity.org/grow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sparks. And now I'd like to introduce our last, but certainly not least vendor, Bob Pullman, who is representing High Demand Development. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. As Dr. Brown mentioned, my name is Bob Pullman, and I'm the president of High Demand Development. HDD is a Los Angeles-based business consulting firm. To support the effective delivery of our DCR scopes, I'm happy to introduce our amazing contributing partners listed on the presentation slide. They are Campaign Rep, Belly Marketing, the Kilkenny Group, Black Business Fund, and Corral Consulting. Next slide, please. HGD was awarded scope of work 1.6 related services for the DCR social equity program. Scope 1.6 consists of 4 tasks. Task 2.1, the participant list. The goal of this task is to design and manage a customer relationship management system for the social equity program to utilize and streamline participant communications and data. Task 2.2 is the social equity program data and reporting. The goal of this task is to analyze, track, and advise on areas of success and/or opportunities for program improvement. Task 2.3 is targeted surveys. The goal of this task is to increase participant data to better serve and improve the social equity program's participant support and assistance initiatives. And last but not least, task 2.4, assistance with identifying funds and raising capital. The goal of this task is twofold. Goal 1 is to provide education and training content specific to participants' current needs for capital. The second goal is to provide DCR staff with strategic planning and implementation support for new program creation focused specifically on funding and capital. Next slide, please. HGD's unique approach to these scopes involves using technology to aid in the social equity program in communications, tracking, and development. The custom CRM platform has been named the Hub, as it is a central location for participant and data management, provides a continuous feedback loop for data and analytics, and also the Hub allows for real-time DCR program review and improvements. We are also working to standardize social equity program reporting by identifying and tracking program key performance indicators. And lastly, assistance with funding and raising capital is a complex scope and important topic for most, if not all, participants. Each individual's financial needs and knowledge base is different. Our team is designing education and training content specific to cannabis business needs and their current barriers. We are also working with DCR staff to recommend and build a framework that supports participant needs related to funding and capital. There are both immediate program implementation opportunities as well as other proposed initiatives that will take additional time to develop and build out. Next slide, please. Now for some exciting teasers and/or progress. I am excited to tell you that the CRM system has been released to DCR staff for internal testing and review. The recent Seed Grant messaging campaign was deployed using the Hub, and our upcoming program-wide targeted survey will also be released using this new CRM system. The visuals on the presentation highlight some of the Hub's key features. The first image from left to right is of the participant list search and filter capabilities. The next image is an example of the hub's participant grouping ability to ensure targeted outreach as needed. And lastly, the final image is a visual of each participant's profile and the various subcategories available to track participant metrics and data points. Next slide, please. Lastly, we are excited to continue infrastructure development with DCR staff to better support participants with raising funds and capital. The matrix on the screen is a quick example of some of our proposed recommendations and the participant challenges we are trying to help overcome with these new initiatives. We look forward to continued development of these programs with DCR staff. Thank you for your attention and your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Pullman. I want to thank everyone, all of our vendors for their presentations today. As a reminder, these are some of the highlights that we can look forward to in the next coming weeks and months. Our Grow Virtual Career Fair, which takes place this Saturday, August 21st from 10 to 4. You can register on our website at cannabis.lacity.org/grow. Our verified social equity applicants will also start receiving personal communications, inviting them to our LA Cannabis Tech Week, taking place next week on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Finally, please stay tuned for our new comprehensive website that's dedicated solely to our BLC program. There you will find a list of upcoming events, video tutorials, live webinars, and other resources. We will have more to share in our next commission meeting. And with that concludes our agenda item number 4. I'll turn it back over to Director Packer.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And again, I want to thank all of our vendors for joining us today to share information with our commission and members of the public about the exciting work that we are building and implementing regarding our business licensing and compliance assistance program. I will use this as an opportunity to plug one more time participation in our Cannabis Career Fair taking place this Saturday. We have some very exciting speakers, keynote speaker, and I'm really looking forward to engaging with folks during our networking session. And similarly, next week is Tech Week, Los Angeles Cannabis Tech Week. We're very excited about the ability to launch these new programs and efforts. And as you can hear, from the vendors who joined us today, we really have made an intentional and comprehensive effort to secure subject matter experts in the field to make sure that we're bringing you content and education that is relevant and helpful to entrepreneurs as they go about launching their business, getting their business licensed, and then maintaining compliant operations. So big thank you to Dr. Brown, Catherine, Ethan, Allison, members of the program team, and our vendors for joining us today. This concludes agenda item number 4.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank everyone for participating in that item. It's great to see so many resources that will be available to our applicants and into our communities. With that, I want to move quickly. Well, before I do that, commissioners, do we have any questions or comments on this item?
This is Vice President Gibson. I have nothing.
Okay.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to item number 5. I also want to be mindful of the time here. We are getting a little late in the day and we only have 3 commissioners. And so I want to make sure that we can maintain our quorum. So let's move on to item number 5. Item 5 is a seed grant program. Staff, whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Will lead us in today's presentation for the seed grant program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Packer. Next slide, please. Yes, and just a quick background, because of time, in April 2021, we established the seed grant program, and to date, the city has dedicated $6 million to the seed grant. $5 million are available for seed 1.0 and $1 million is available for seed 2.0. Now the application period closed on August 18th, which was yesterday. and it opened on April 20th. So it was open from April 20th of 2021 till August 18th. Next slide, please. The total amount for seed 1.0 is the $5 million, as I said, and grant eligibility is the phase 3 retail round 1, and they were eligible for $25K. Next slide, please. The 2.0, those were available, folks were available to receive up to $10,000 in 2 disbursements of $5,000. The first disbursement is for folks who are eligible for further processing, and the second amount is for folks who are eligible for a notice of local compliance. Next slide, please. We have done a robust effort to get the word out for folks to apply. Just to let you know of all of our outreach efforts, we have done 27 e-blasts. We have done 4 lunch and learn webinars to assist applicants with completing an application. We've done 4 rounds of email invitations to cannabis trade organizations for these lunch and learns. We've done 3 texting campaigns. We've done 3 application tutorials, introductions on how to apply and how to be successful in the approval process. And we've done 2 rounds of phone calls to individual applicants. Next slide, please. With that, I will introduce Paula Groves, who is the administrator and the CEO of Impact LA. And Paula will give us an update on our disbursement numbers. So with that, Paula, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. So in terms of the number of applicants that we have applied for, these numbers are actually for seed 2.0. The total number of applications is 211. We had 149 actually complete their applications. The difference between the first line and the second line is the total number of applicants of 211 include those who started their applications but have not yet completed their applications. Completed applications are 149. Approved applicants are 53, and grant recipients are 38. The total amount dispersed for seed 2.0 is $975,000.
Paula, that's 1.0. The 900.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Dr. Brown. That's 1.0. So we've dispersed $975,000 to seed 1.0 applicants, and those are those who received $25,000 grants. Thank you, Dr. Brown. Next slide, please. In terms of seed 2.0, these are those who received grant amounts of either $5,000 or $10,000. We had 97 people start their applications. We had 66 people complete their applications. We've approved 21 applicants, and we've dispersed grants to 14 applicants. The total amount dispersed to seed 2.0 is $110,000. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Thank you so much for that. And in total, we've dispersed $1,085,000 for seed 1.0 and seed 2.0. Now, any remaining funds not awarded by the 90-day period, which is the end of the city's agreement with the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, may be dispersed on a pro rata basis to applicants who've applied by the deadline and who are eligible for grants. Now, any remaining 1.0 funds from the $5 million will be divided amongst eligible seed 1.0 applicants. And any remaining 2.0 funds from the $1 million will be divided among eligible seed 2.0 applicants. Now, for more information, we will be forthcoming at a later date regarding the next steps for eligible applicants for this pro rata distribution. That concludes our presentation, and I will pass it back over to Director Packer. Ooh, did that fast. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As you can hear, we give an update on the seed grant program, over $1 million dispersed at this point, with us continuing to review applications that were submitted by the deadline. We'll make sure to follow up with this commission and members of the public to share more information about the final results of the application process and to share information about the pro rata distribution. But we're excited that we were able to distribute money. We recognize that access to capital is the most significant barrier. And so we look forward to continuing to be able to secure resources, financial resources, and distribute them in a timely fashion to our applicants. This concludes our presentation for agenda item number 5.
Okay, well, appreciate the presentation. I want to open it up to the commissioners. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have a comment. This is Vice President Mason. I'm excited that we get to keep the money here and to divide it between the 1.0 and 2.0 applicants. That's huge. That's a huge reduction to the size of the capital access barrier to operating in this industry. So I'm glad to hear, really am, that we figured out a solution to keep the money here instead of it going back to the state. So thank you for that update.
Commissioner On, President On. This is Commissioner Villa.
Yes, Commissioner Villa.
I just wanted to say I was really pleased to see the increase in the numbers of grants that were reported as being issued or in process, and the number of applications, the increase in the number of applications over the numbers that were reported at the last meeting. That's really exciting, and definitely tremendous work has been done by Dr. Brown and her team in this area. So I just want to thank them for their efforts, because getting this money out to the community is what is really important. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Brown, I just want to again commend you and your team for your work. This is really great news, and we really needed this. And so really appreciate all of your efforts in this regard. And we look forward to continuing to support you in this endeavor. And if there's anything you want to add before we close.
This has just been a team's effort, and we're really happy, and we want to disperse as much of these funding dollars as possible to the social equity entrepreneur community. So thank you all, my team, of course, Director Packer, for all the support that we've been given, and we look forward to continuing this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I want to go ahead and adjourn today's meeting. The time now is 4:47. Thank you.